She knew something felt wrong the moment the door clicked shut, but she never imagined the truth hiding behind her husband's oldest friend. The storm had rolled through the small Massachusetts town only an hour earlier, leaving the air cool and sharp. Claire Bennett, 34 years old, stood in the quiet of her living room, listening to the soft hum of the refrigerator. The house felt too still, too spacious. Her husband, Mark, had just driven their twins to his mother's place across town. They would be gone for the evening. She should have felt relieved. Instead, a knot tightened in her stomach. She reminded herself it was only Liam coming by. Liam Hart, Mark's childhood friend. The guy who always laughed too loudly, who always brought over a bottle of something they did not need, who always tried a little too hard to charm everyone in the room. He and Mark had grown up together in Vermont, inseparable until careers and families spread them out. Claire had known him for 9 years, and in all that time, he had been nothing more than a familiar, harmless presence. At least, that was what she used to think. She paced the living room, brushing dust off the coffee table. Mark had asked her to give Liam a box of old hiking gear he no longer used. Nothing complicated. Nothing dramatic. But her nerves buzzed anyway. Maybe it was the way Liam had called earlier, his tone too soft, almost lingering. Maybe it was the strange pause before he said he would stop by after everyone else had left. Claire tried to shake it off. The knock arrived at 6:47 p.m. A quick, firm rap. She swallowed and opened the door. Liam stood there in a dark jacket, hair wind-tossed, eyes strangely unreadable. He smiled, but something in it felt heavy. "Evening, Claire. Mark said I could swing by." She stepped back. "Of course. Come in." He moved inside with a slow confidence that didn't match the old Liam she remembered. The living room lights cast a soft glow over everything, and the silence between them seemed to stretch. "The box is in the den," she said, walking ahead. She kept her tone light, friendly, but her pulse fluttered. Liam followed. His footsteps felt too close. When they reached the den, she pointed to the cardboard box by the window. "There you go. All yours." He didn't look at the box. He watched her instead. "Claire," he said quietly, "can we talk for a minute?" She froze, her hand resting on the back of a chair. "About what?" His expression shifted, almost troubled. "About something I should have said a long time ago." Her heart thudded. She forced a small laugh. "Liam, if this is about money or..." "It's not." He shook his head slowly. It's personal." She realized then that she was alone in the house with him. Completely alone. The realization tightened her chest. She stepped back, creating distance. "Liam," she said softly, "careful, whatever this is, maybe it can wait until Mark's here." His eyes softened, and for a moment, he looked like the young man she used to know at backyard barbecues and holiday dinners. Vulnerable. Uncertain. "No," he whispered. "Because I've been carrying it for years. And tonight, when I heard you were alone, I knew I couldn't hold it anymore." Her breath caught. She gripped the back of the chair harder. "You shouldn't have waited until the house emptied," she said, her voice barely steady. "This isn't the time." He glanced down, jaw tightening. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I swear. I need you to hear me." She felt the weight of the moment settle over the room, pressing into her ribs. This wasn't flirtation. It wasn't casual. Liam's whole posture told her he had come with something deep, something he couldn't take back once spoken. Still, she stayed rooted to the floor, afraid to encourage anything, afraid to escalate the tension. The air between them felt charged, like the calm before another storm. "Liam," she said gently, "just tell me what this is about." He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling long and shaky. "It's about you. And Mark. And something I found out that I shouldn't have." She blinked. "Found out? What do you mean?" He looked up, eyes dark with something heavy, fear, guilt, regret. She couldn't tell. "I wasn't going to say anything," he whispered. "But you deserve to know. And I can't stand here and pretend everything is fine anymore." Claire's pulse roared in her ears. Every muscle in her body tensed, waiting. "What did you find out?" she asked again, this time firmer. Liam took a slow step toward her, then stopped himself as if realizing he had crossed an invisible line. "It's about Mark," he said. "And something he's been hiding from you." The air seemed to thin around her. Her mind raced through possibilities, none of them good. But she forced herself to breathe. "What exactly is he hiding?" she demanded, voice trembling despite her effort. Liam hesitated, glancing toward the doorway as if expecting someone to walk in and stop him. Then he looked back at her. And the words he spoke next made Claire feel the floor shift beneath her. Claire gripped the chair so tightly her fingers ached. Liam's voice had dropped to a low, almost fragile tone, and the room felt suddenly colder. "Claire," he said, "I think Mark hasn't been honest with you. And I think you've felt it, even if you haven't said it out loud." Her mouth went dry. She swallowed the rising panic. "That's vague," she managed. "Tell me what you mean." Liam breathed in slowly, as if steadying himself. "I didn't come here to hurt you. I came because I can't watch you keep trusting someone who isn't giving you the whole truth." The words hit her like a small blow. She stepped back until her shoulder brushed the wall. "Just say it," she whispered. He nodded. "All right. 2 weeks ago, Mark called me. He said he needed a place to stay for the night. He sounded off. Nervous. I asked what was wrong. Liam hesitated. He told me he and a coworker had stayed late at the office. He claimed they were finishing a project. He said he missed the last train back and didn't want you worrying." Claire frowned. "He told me that. He said he fell asleep at his desk." "He didn't," Liam replied quietly. "Claire, he wasn't at the office." The words dropped between them like a weight. Her heartbeat thudded hard in her ears. "Then where was he?" Liam pressed his fingertips to his temple. "I didn't want to believe it either. But when he came over that night, he wasn't himself. His shirt was wrinkled, and he smelled like a perfume I didn't recognize." Claire's breath stilled. A cold ache spread across her chest. "You think he was with someone," she said, unable to mask the tremor in her voice. "I think he was lying," Liam answered. "And I think you deserve the truth." She turned away from him, staring out the den window where the late evening sky hung heavy and gray. Her thoughts swirled. Mark wasn't perfect. They had been married for 11 years, and they had weathered their share of storms. But deceit. The possibility twisted her stomach. But another thought pushed forward, sharp and skeptical. "Why are you telling me this now, Liam?" she asked quietly. "When the house is empty. When Mark isn't here to defend himself." He exhaled, a sound full of frustration. "Because I tried to talk to him first. I asked him what was going on. I told him I could tell something was off. He shut me down. He said it was none of my business. Then he made me promise not to say anything to you." She turned back toward him, searching his expression for any hint of dishonesty. But what she saw was something she had never seen in him before: deep conflict, maybe even guilt. "You're his friend," she said. "Why break that promise?" His jaw tightened. "Because I made that promise before I understood what it would do to you. And because I can't sit here and watch you get blindsided." Claire wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold. "This doesn't make sense. Even if he stayed somewhere else, even if something smelled off Liam, that's not proof of anything." "I know," he replied. "That's why I spent the last week trying to get him to talk. But he won't. He shuts down every conversation that gets close." "Claire, I'm not asking you to believe every word I say. I'm asking you to pay attention to the things you already know." She stared at him, caught between confusion and fear. "What things?" she asked. "Mark's been distant," Liam said. "He's been coming home late for months. He's distracted. He barely looks you in the eye sometimes." His voice softened. "You've felt something changing, haven't you?" Her throat tightened. She hated how true that sounded. She had noticed the late nights. The way he sometimes avoided conversations about their future. The way he brushed off questions with hurried explanations. She had dismissed them as stress. Work pressure. The usual strains of adulthood. But now, with someone else saying the words she had tried not to think, they didn't feel so harmless. Still, something didn't sit right. She looked him directly in the eyes. Why are you so invested in this, Liam? Why tell me now, tonight? Why come the moment the house is empty? His eyes flickered. He looked away, swallowed, then met her gaze again. Because, he said slowly, I realized something the night Mark stayed with me. Something about him. And something about you. Claire's pulse quickened. What are you talking about? She asked, her voice uneven. The silence stretched long. Too long. Finally, he spoke. I think he's hiding more than a lie, Liam said. I think he's hiding a choice. And I think that choice is going to hurt you if you don't know what's coming. Her breath trembled. A choice? About what? About your family, he said quietly. About the life you built together. About where he sees himself in it. Her skin prickled. The room felt smaller, tighter, as if the walls were inching in. What did he say to you, Liam? She whispered. He shook his head, pained. I told him he needed to be honest with you. I told him you deserved that. And he looked me in the eye and said, he wasn't sure how much longer he could pretend everything was fine. Claire felt her stomach drop, as if the floor had given way beneath her. Pretend. Pretend everything was fine. The words echoed in her head, sharp and cold. He said that, she asked, voice cracking. Liam nodded once. Slow. Heavy. I'm sorry. I didn't want to be the one to tell you. But you needed to hear it. Claire stepped away from him, gripping the edge of the window frame. Her breath shook. Her vision blurred for a moment. Mark. Her husband. The father of their children. Saying something like that. It felt impossible. But the look on Liam's face didn't feel like a lie. I don't know what to do, she whispered. You don't have to decide anything tonight, Liam said gently. But you need to be ready. Because whatever he's hiding, it's going to come out. And when it does, it's going to change everything. Claire closed her eyes, trying to steady herself. Outside, a single car passed down their quiet street, headlights sweeping across the wall behind Liam. The moment felt suspended, fragile, as if the entire house was holding its breath. Then Claire opened her eyes and looked at him. What aren't you telling me? She asked softly. There's more. I can see it. Liam swallowed hard. And the expression that crossed his face told her she was right. There was more. Much more. Liam's silence stretched so long Claire felt each second settle like dust on her skin. He stood in the middle of the den, shoulders rigid, hands flexing at his sides. Whatever he was avoiding, it wasn't small. Liam, she whispered, please. If you know something, tell me. He finally exhaled, long and unsteady. I didn't want to say it because I knew it would hurt you. And because it isn't only Mark's secret. It's mine too. Claire's breath caught. Yours. He nodded once. Before he came to my place that night, before he told me anything, he said something that made everything make sense, and made everything worse. Claire's grip tightened around the window frame. What did he say? Liam wet his lips, hesitating. He said he wasn't sure he wanted the same life you wanted anymore. That somewhere along the way, he felt like he lost himself. The words sliced through her. She shook her head slowly. That's not possible. We've built everything together. Our home, our kids, our plans. He wouldn't say that. Liam stepped closer, though he stopped several feet away, as if afraid to cross some invisible line. I tried to tell myself he didn't mean it. I tried to convince him he was just overwhelmed. But he looked me dead in the eye, Claire. He meant every word. Claire pressed a trembling hand to her forehead. A faint ache pulsed behind her eyes. But why would he tell you something like that? Why not talk to me? That's the part one didn't want to say. He swallowed, his throat bobbing. Because he didn't want you to see him differently. And because he thought, you deserved better. Her chest tightened. Better? Better than what? Better than a man who doesn't know what he wants anymore. The room blurred for a heartbeat. She steadied herself, inhaling slowly. Liam, she said quietly, you're still avoiding something. I can feel it. He dropped his gaze, rubbing a hand across his jaw. There's one more thing he said. Something that made me realize things were much deeper than I understood. Claire's jaw clenched. Tell me. He lifted his eyes to hers, and she saw something raw in them: fear, guilt, maybe even heartbreak. Mark told me he wasn't planning to tell you the truth yet, Liam said. Not until he sorted out his feelings. Claire stared at him, the words echoing inside her. Sorted out his feelings. A cold wave washed through her. Feelings about what? She whispered. Liam hesitated again. Too long. Far too long. Liam, she said, her voice breaking, tell me what feelings he's sorting out. He took a step back, as if the weight of the truth pushed him away from her. He said, he wasn't sure if the thing he was losing was his marriage, or himself. The room went very still. Claire felt the floor beneath her feet. Felt the air in her lungs. But she also felt a strange, hollow ringing in her ears, like the world had pulled away for a tiny, frightening moment. She shook her head again, voice thin. That doesn't answer my question. Liam closed his eyes tight for a moment, then opened them. You want the full truth? He asked quietly. She nodded. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. He said he had feelings he shouldn't have. Feelings he couldn't shake. Feelings he'd been trying to ignore for years. Her stomach twisted. Feelings for who? She breathed. Liam held her gaze steady, pained, and unflinching. And in that moment, she understood. The truth hit her like a cold wind cutting through her chest. No, she whispered. Liam, please don't tell me. He nodded once. Barely. Yes, Claire. He meant me. She felt the world tilt, as if the floor moved beneath her feet. She reached blindly for the back of the chair again, gripping it to steady herself. Liam took a step toward her, hands raised gently. Claire, listen. I didn't want this. I didn't ask for it. I tried everything to push him back on track. To remind him of his family. I told him he needed to fight for you. Stop, she said, voice breaking. Please stop. He stopped instantly. Claire breathed through the ache rising in her chest. You're telling me my husband has feelings for you. Liam nodded, guilt etched deep across his features. And I told him it couldn't happen. That I didn't feel the same way. That he needed to focus on you, on your marriage. I told him what you two have is worth everything. But he's confused, Claire. And he refuses to talk to you because he's afraid. She stared at him, the shock numbing her limbs. I don't understand, she whispered. I don't understand any of this. Liam's voice softened. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I've been carrying this because I thought I could fix it before you ever had to know. But he's slipping further away, Claire. And I couldn't keep lying to you by staying silent. Claire turned away from him, tears gathering though she blinked them back fiercely. The house suddenly felt too quiet. Too still. Like the air had stopped moving. This can't be real, she said softly. Mark loves our family. He loves our kids. He wouldn't throw all of that into confusion. I don't think he wants to, Liam replied. I think he's terrified. Of his own emotions. Of what they mean. Of saying the wrong thing, or the right thing, or anything at all. She wrapped her arms around herself again. So he confided in you. Yes, Liam said. Because he's known me his entire life. Because he trusted me with something he didn't know how to handle. He paused, voice heavy. And because he didn't think you could handle it. Claire turned sharply. Her eyes flashed with hurt. He thought I couldn't handle the truth. He thought it would break you, Liam said. He said he didn't want to see that look on your face. The one you're wearing right now. Her breath shuddered. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The house hummed softly, the refrigerator clicking on in the distance. She felt every beat of her heart, each one loud and unfamiliar. Finally, Claire whispered, Why did you really come tonight, Liam? The truth. Not the softened version. He inhaled, shoulders rising. When he exhaled, the words came out low and unguarded. Because Mark told me yesterday that he made a decision. And he said he was going to tell you soon. Claire's chest tightened painfully. A decision about what? Liam looked at her with an expression she had never seen on him before, devastated certainty. About your marriage, he said. And about the future he thinks he wants. Claire felt the room sway slightly, her breath catching. What decision? she pressed. Say it, Liam. Please. He opened his mouth. But before he could speak, the sound of a car door slamming outside cut through the quiet house. Claire's blood ran cold. Someone was home early. The sound of the car door echoed through the quiet neighborhood, sharp and unmistakable. Claire's breath caught. Liam stiffened, turning toward the front of the house as though bracing for impact. That can't be him, Claire whispered. He wasn't supposed to drop the kids off until later. Liam stepped closer, not too close, but enough that she felt the tension radiating from him. Maybe it's a delivery, he said, though his voice held no confidence. Another sound followed. Footsteps on the front path. Claire's pulse hammered. She could recognize her husband's walk anywhere. Slow, steady, slightly uneven on the right side. It was him. She felt her stomach twist into a tight knot. Claire, Liam murmured, you don't have to talk to him right now. If you want, I'll leave through the back. No, her voice was barely above a breath. If he sees your car out front, that'll look worse. Just stay here for a moment. He nodded, though anxiety flickered in his eyes. I'll stay behind you. Whatever you need. Before she could gather herself, the front door opened. Mark's voice drifted in casually, unaware of the storm waiting inside. Claire, you home? Mom said the kids wanted to eat dinner over there, so I figured. He stepped into the hallway and froze. His eyes moved from Claire, to Liam, to the space between them. A flicker of confusion crossed his face, quickly replaced by something sharper. Controlled. Guarded. Liam, he said slowly. Didn't expect to see you here. Liam straightened. You asked me to pick up your hiking gear. Claire was helping me find the box. Mark nodded once, but the tension in his shoulders gave him away. His gaze returned to Claire, searching her expression. Everything okay? Claire felt her throat tighten. The question felt too ordinary for the weight in the room. I didn't know you were coming back this early, she said, her voice steady though her hands trembled at her sides. Well, Mark said, clearing his throat, plans change. The way he said it sent a prickling sensation down her spine. Silence stretched between the three of them, thick, suffocating, full of everything unspoken. Mark finally broke it. Claire, can we talk alone? Her heart pounded so loudly she wondered if both men could hear it. She saw the shift in Mark's eyes, the tightening around his jaw. He looked tense. Nervous. Almost prepared. Liam stepped forward. Mark. Mark lifted a hand without looking at him. Not now. Claire saw Liam's jaw flex, but he stayed quiet. She forced herself to speak, even though her voice felt thin. What do you need to talk about? Mark hesitated, the smallest pause, barely noticeable, yet enormous. Something important, he said. Something I should have said a long time ago. The room seemed to tilt beneath her. Liam's warning echoed in her head. A decision. Something that would change everything. She steadied herself. If you have something to tell me, she said gently, you can say it here. Mark's expression faltered for a moment, surprise, then unease. Here. With Liam. He knows, she whispered. He told me. Mark's breath hitched. A subtle, unmistakable reaction. He looked at Liam with a flash of betrayal. You told her. Liam held his ground. She deserved the truth. You know she did. Mark's jaw clenched. It wasn't your place. No, Liam agreed quietly. But you left her in the dark. And she's not someone who should live in uncertainty. Mark turned away, running a hand through his hair. A long silence followed, full of tension, fear, and unresolved truth. When he finally faced Claire again, his eyes looked heavier than she had ever seen them. Claire, he said, voice low, I wasn't ready for this conversation yet. I wanted more time. She swallowed hard. Time for what? He inhaled deeply, shoulders rising, then falling. For understanding myself. Claire's heart ached at the vulnerability in his voice. This wasn't the cold distance she feared. This was something more fragile, more complicated. Mark glanced at Liam briefly, then back at her. Claire, he said softly, I've been struggling. For a long time. With things I didn't have the courage to admit, not to you, not to myself. Her breath trembled. Struggling with what? He closed his eyes for a second before opening them again. With who I am. The words settled heavy and irreversible in the air. Claire felt her knees weaken. She reached out and steadied herself on the edge of the desk. Mark didn't move toward her. He stayed still, hands at his sides, voice almost breaking. I never wanted to hurt you, he said. You're my family. You've been my home for more than a decade. But I can't keep pretending I'm not changing inside. Her chest tightened painfully. And what about Liam? Mark's expression crumpled with shame. That wasn't supposed to happen. I didn't want to feel anything that confused me more. I didn't act on anything. I swear that. But something in me shifted. And I've been terrified of what that means. Claire pressed a hand to her mouth, tears burning behind her eyes. She didn't let them fall. Not yet. Mark took a small step toward her but stopped short, as though crossing that final space felt impossible. I thought if I ignored it, he said, voice rough, it would go away. But it didn't. And when I saw how it affected our marriage, how I started pulling away, I knew I couldn't keep pretending. Liam stood quiet, his expression tight with guilt and helplessness. Claire swallowed hard. Her voice barely held together. Were you going to leave us? Mark's eyes widened with hurt and disbelief. No. Never. I just didn't know how to talk to you. I didn't want to lose you. But I also didn't want to live a lie. Silence. Painful. Trembling. Claire finally whispered, so what is your decision, Mark? The one you told Liam about. Mark looked at her with eyes full of conflict. I decided, he said slowly, that I can't keep any of this hidden anymore. I need to be honest with you, with myself, with our kids. And I need to figure out what my future looks like. Her breath wavered. And does that future include me? He didn't answer right away. And that silence, more than any words, made her heart crack. Finally, he opened his mouth. But before he could speak the truth that might break everything, a sudden knock sounded on the open front door. A voice called in, soft and familiar. Claire. Mark. Did I leave my glasses here? Claire's head snapped toward the hallway. It was Mark's mother. And she had heard enough to know something was terribly wrong. Mark's mother stepped through the doorway with a hesitant smile, one she quickly lost the moment she saw all three of them standing stiff and pale in the den. Her hand still rested on the doorframe, as though she needed it to steady herself. Is everything all right? She asked, her voice gentle but laced with concern. I heard raised voices outside. Claire wiped her palms along her sides, trying to calm the trembling inside her. We were just talking, she said softly. Mark's mother looked from Claire, to Mark, to Liam, and the worry in her eyes deepened. She set her glasses on the table and folded her hands in front of her. Mark, she said carefully, should I step back out? I didn't mean to interrupt. Mark shook his head, though he looked exhausted, defeated, stretched so thin Claire feared he might break. No, Mom. It's fine. You're not interrupting. But his voice carried a quiet heaviness that said otherwise. Claire stepped forward, clearing her throat gently. Joanne, maybe you should go home for now. We'll talk later. Joanne hesitated. She looked at Claire, really looked, and Claire could see the flicker of maternal instinct sharpen in her expression. You're pale, Joanne whispered. Claire, sweetheart, what happened? Claire shook her head. We'll explain when we can. But Joanne took a slow step deeper into the room, her gaze falling on her son. Mark. Talk to me. The air shifted. Something in Mark's face softened at the sound of her voice, almost like the little boy he used to be peeked through the mask he wore. Mom, he whispered, I've made a mess. Joanne approached him, laying a steadying hand on his arm. Whatever it is, you'll get through it. You always do. Mark swallowed, eyes glistening, barely holding himself together. But then he looked at Claire. And something inside him seemed to break wide open. I need to finish what I started, he said quietly. Claire felt her heart thud painfully. He turned fully toward her, shoulders slumped but eyes honest, finally, painfully honest. Claire, he began, I haven't fallen out of love with you. I need you to know that before anything else. Tears pricked at her eyes, but she forced herself to stay composed. I believe you, she whispered. But believing doesn't erase what's been happening. He inhaled, slow and uneasy. You're right. And I'm so sorry I made you feel like you weren't enough. You've been more than I ever deserved. Claire felt tears spill over, warm against her cheeks. Mark stepped closer, not to touch her, but to stand in front of her with the truth laid bare between them. I'm not leaving you, he said. I'm not walking away from our family. But I can't pretend I'm not struggling inside. I've been trying to understand parts of myself I pushed away for years. And when those feelings surfaced about Liam, it terrified me. Liam closed his eyes, guilt tightening his expression. I told him everything, Mark continued. Because he's the only other person who's known me since I was a kid. But I never meant to confuse him. I never meant to pull him into something he didn't want. Liam nodded slowly. I know. And I know this isn't simple. But Claire deserved to know what was going on. Mark turned back to her, voice soft but steady. He's right. You did. And I should have told you myself. Claire wiped her cheeks. So where does that leave us, Mark? His mother stood silently behind him, hand still resting on his back in quiet support. Mark took a few seconds before he answered. Each breath he took seemed to steady him. It leaves us, he said slowly, facing something hard. But not impossible. Her chest tightened. I don't want to walk away from our marriage, he continued. And I don't want to hurt you anymore. I want to work through this. I want to understand myself, with you beside me if you can bear it. But if you can't, I'll respect that too. Claire drew in a fragile breath. Are you choosing us? She asked. He nodded. Yes. I'm choosing us. But I can't fix this overnight. And I won't lie to you again. The honesty, raw, unfiltered, cut through her like a cold wind and warm sunlight all at once. She stepped closer to him, noticing the fear behind his eyes, the vulnerability trembling in his voice. Then we start with honesty, she whispered. Not perfection. Not pretending. Just honesty. Mark's lips trembled as relief washed over him. Liam looked down, visibly emotional, though he quickly straightened himself. I'm stepping out of this, he said gently. You too need space. And you deserve peace. Claire looked at him, grateful, but also aching. Thank you for telling me. Even if it hurt. He nodded. Take care of each other. With that, Liam quietly slipped out, leaving the house still and heavy with truth. Joanne gave Mark's arm a final squeeze before stepping back. I'll be next door if you need me, she murmured. Both of you. When she left, the house fell completely silent. Mark and Claire stood inches apart, breathing in the same unsteady rhythm, the weight of the past years finally uncovered between them. After a long moment, Claire reached for his hand. He hesitated just for a heartbeat before taking hers with a trembling exhale. We'll get help, she said softly. Together. We'll figure out who you are, and who we are. He nodded, eyes closing as though someone had finally lifted a heavy, invisible burden from his shoulders. And I'll tell you the truth, he whispered, voice breaking. Even when it scares me. Claire squeezed his hand. We'll rebuild slowly, she said. One honest piece at a time. The air felt fragile, but hopeful. They weren't fixed. They weren't unbroken. But they were finally telling the truth. And sometimes, that was the first step toward healing.